Today, I am thrilled to welcome Candice Mason.
Find your way of planning, but really stick to it and focus on those jobs that are so important. It will help move your business forward rather than the bit that just distracts you and keeps you busy.
The Managing Director of Mother Cuppa and Mason Coaches in London, UK. Let's dive into the top 3 things you did that made you successful in business and how others can follow in your footsteps.
So the top 3 things that I have done, the first thing was definitely working with a business coach, which really helped me to highlight the challenges that I was facing and question why I was doing certain things. The second thing is that I have been able to completely systemize my business so that I'm no longer needed in it doing the hands-on role day to day. And the third thing is that I have been able to do that and free myself up to start a third business.
Getting a business coach, talk to me about that. How did you decide to go in for one? And talk to me about the journey so far.
It sort of stumbled upon me. It happened in lockdown. I met our local business coach. Our business was having a really difficult time, as many were, trying to come out of that. And he said, let me see if I can support you. I first had to convince my husband. I worked with my husband and he wasn't sure that that was the right way for him or for us. But I said, we're quiet. We've got nothing to lose. We might as well try it. And I don't think we've ever looked back on that decision, really. That was the best decision that we've personally have made. That business, I mean, we were in it, the thick of it, answering the phones, answering the email, doing the job, trying to grow the business. We'd taken that business from, it's a bus and coach business, so we'd taken it from sort of 6 vehicles up to 20 vehicles, and we had just done all of the growth ourselves, and we'd never really stopped and thought about where were we going in the future, how are we managing our team to help with growth. So working with our business coach really made us stop and think about those things and realise that we needed to take a bit of a step back in order to get some clarity on the business. And also the fact that we hadn't had a holiday without a phone or a laptop for 10 years. So it was very important to us.
There's a complication also, right? Because when you have a husband and wife team, they're not only seeing themselves in the office, but also at home, and balancing that and the dynamics of a marriage and a business is really, really challenging. So tell me more.
First thing is we looked at every sort of touch point within the business. What was I doing? What was my husband doing? What were the staff that we already had doing? What were all the tasks that were sort of really important that needed to be done and couldn't be left? And I remember I had bits of coloured paper on the wall behind me, and every time I thought, oh gosh, yes, that job needs to be done, it would go up on the board. And we really looked at that and analysed, were we the right people to be doing that thing? Did we have members of our team? Was there a role that we needed to create that would free some of that up? It also allowed me to really look at how often were we touching one piece of work ultimately, or one task. And our business coach suggested that looking at the systems that we were using, were we fully utilising them? Were there other systems or upgrades that would potentially release a staff member? I mean, we changed one area of a booking system that was manually done. I just don't know why we were doing it like that. We paid a little bit of money for a bit of software, and that completely cut a full-time job down to 1 day a week. So there were cost savings in that initial investment. There were cost savings in the long run, whereas I'd never really thought about things like that. We were always a bit more of a reactive business rather than proactive. We were always thinking, oh gosh, we need to think about that. And it was after the event. We were always putting sticking plasters or just employing someone who could fill a gap to try and help. And working with a business coach completely changed our mindset on that. I was doing all of the accounts at one point, and I have dyscalculia, so I did a very good job, but I wasn't the right person to do that, and it would make me quite stressed, and I would have to be in a real zone to be able to do it properly and not be able to be distracted. So actually taking me out of that, where I'm better with sort of sales and marketing, and putting all of my energy into that, and hiring somebody who could implement and put bookkeeping and accounting systems in place for us made total sense. I was grateful for that.
And talk to me about your self-beliefs, and when did you realize that you should believe in yourself?
I don't really know. Maybe I've known that all my life, but until I started working with the business coach, it sort of made me question where I wanted to be and what I thought I was capable of. I think my business coach saw more in me and more in my capabilities than I saw in myself. So I think that's where the lesson has been. How do you work on that? A lot of journaling, I'd say, a lot of listening to podcasts and gleaning bits and pieces from others. I do also think as you get older, you have the benefit, don't you, of losing some of that, sort of hanging on. So yeah, I think it's the one thing that has the potential to hold me back from being successful is actually myself. And so I'm much more aware of that now. And I'm much more, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this. I just think, oh, fuck it, just do it. And that's where my head's got to. Whereas before I wouldn't have felt like that. I probably would have hidden in the shadow. I would have maybe not done that so much. But yeah, now I'm just like, well, if I want to have the life I want to have and move forward, then I've got to just do whatever is making me uncomfortable and get on with it.
What's your favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs who are listening onto this show?
I plan everything almost to within an inch of its life. I know that sounds really rigid, and I do have some flexibility in my world and at different times of the year. But yeah, I have a really clear plan of what my week looks like, what my next quarter looks like, my month looks like. I actually use, it's Trello, but I think Asana, the same sort of thing. So my boards are annual business plan on there, quarterly business plan, monthly business plan, or weekly business plan. I also have tabs in there for my family, but we don't need to talk about my meal planning and when I'm going to the gym and all these sorts of things.
Yes, planning is such an important part, right? And if you don't have a plan, guess what? You're never going to succeed.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's been something that's been a real takeaway. And I think find your way of planning. It doesn't have to be as rigid as mine. Find your way, but really stick to it and focus on those jobs that are so important. It will help move your business forward rather than the bit that just distracts you and keeps you busy, I guess.
And that's a wrap for today's epic conversation here on Epic Entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, share it, or hit that bell. But until next time, let's make sure you keep dreaming, take massive action, and stay epic.